What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the debut album by singer The Weeknd as far as this pitch is going to happen. Basically, this product is called Kiss Land and it came out in the late summer of 2013. So the thing about this particular product was just the fact that after a series of hit mixtapes in 2011, The Weeknd basically had a product of some free products that were pretty wicked and kick-ass as far as this first going to happen. Echoes of Silence, Thursday, and House of Balloons were all some pretty vicious type fare basically were on the scene around that time, but they were not necessarily lower budget in terms of like the quality and the overall pitch behind it, but it was just kind of the concept that it was just a very bona fide type surprise to get those back in 2011, just within the pitch as far as saying that the Weeknd had that kind of atmosphere, because there weren't too many folks that came up on the mixtape type scene in terms of R&B as far as that particular fair kind of went. So he was definitely one of the biggest, definitely a front runner for that particular era of like the Dat Piff era and some of those particular type things. But he did like the Weeknd caught on pretty quickly, got a label deal, some of that type fair just in the pitch behind it. He was always kind of within that for the longest while. He was kind of an affiliate of Drake as far as this pitch kind of happened. Wasn't as full bound kind of associated with like OVO sound, but was kind of was at least in 2011 with Take Care and some of those type of pitches. At least in 2011, some of those type of pitches. But the product of it was in late 2012 he packaged all three of those mixtapes along with three bonus songs for the album trilogy, which is basically like a triple album within the pitch behind it. I mean, the unfortunate thing about that product, I would probably recommend just downloading like the actual mixtapes, because the three bonus songs, from what I remember when I reviewed each of those back in like the past couple of years, Echoes of Silence, Thursday, and House of Balloons, I didn't like the bonus songs that were on the trilogy album. So this, I mean, it's really just easier to just get the additions of the mixtapes. But I would say Kissland is a classic here, simple enough to say just within the pitch behind it. This was a very like catastrophic type album in terms of the pitch behind it. Just the flatteningness that this particular album had was just pretty effectual just within the tone behind it. Just very much like the critics didn't feel as much full bound with this. They didn't catch on with the Weeknd until later on with like the wet when he started to dominate things with Beauty Behind the Madness. But I remember fucking with this album a lot when it came out. I knew from the get go I was messing with the Weeknd at least as far back as like Echoes of Silence. I mean, as far back as the Take Care and Echoes of Silence days, that had to say. But within the pitch, I did fuck with this album right away within the pitch behind it. But this was kind of the thing about this particular album is this is before the Weeknd was a household name. Basically, the album that made him a household name was kind of Beauty Behind the Madness with hit singles like I Can't Feel My Face and The Hills and Earned It, and some of those type ones that were just top five, number one and top five singles, some of those type pitches in the night and like often some of those type of ones, just a bunch. Like Beauty Behind the Madness got to like the sixth, seventh single, some of those type of fairs, and a lot of them were pretty much like top 15, top 10, top five singles within that fair. But this was the album before that, just in the pitch. Didn't catch on as immediately. Did manage to have like six or seven singles on here, but just the pitch behind it, these were not number ones and just more of like the boisterous kind of appeal. It was just kind of more underground and kind of more R&B chart only type territory. But the thing is just kind of the concept that the world this was not at that particular stage knowing what the Weeknd was going to do within the impact and capable of within those pitches. Just kind of the tone. There's definitely some ones on here, but it's just kind of the tone behind it is just the pitch as far as saying that like these are good songs, but in terms of like the craftsman, as far as like the single type format, some of these are kind of lengthier and some of these don't really obey like the typical formats as far as music would kind of go with it. It's just kind of the concept that these are a lot sketchier, just the initial kind of atmosphere as the Weeknd kind of has like his opening jabs with like music in terms of like album type formats. It was the same thing with like the mixtapes from 2011. Some of these type ones were just more sprawling. I mean, I feel like there's songs on like some of those mixtapes like Initiation that was definitely a real good radio snap of like a single, but a lot of times it was just kind of I mean, the balance about this particular product is just not formatted the way songs like The Hills and I Can't Feel My Face would be in 2015. So this is just kind of like the initial. This is more R&B more so than, I mean, it's definitely dark art and it nails it particularly well within the pitch behind it, but it's just a little bit more kind of flamboyant in the dark sense compared to some of the later projects we kind of be in. It's definitely a head trip of a project. Definitely for an R&B album, a great song, a great product to smoke out to and have some of that particular type fare. Just great emphatic type pitch to kind of have with some bells as far as those pitches kind of have this emphatic kind of romanticness and just a smoky kind of haze type fare that just is there's a real excellent taste of nightlife on here. It's just pretty supreme in the way that it does that. Kissland is the Weeknd talked about that. He saw Kissland as like a place he wanted to make it haunting within the pitch to something that strikes fear and is terrifying. Pretty good concept. The amalgamation of the way that this production fares in this album work, it feels like if my guess as to what Kissland would kind of be like in terms of a place. Probably remind me of somewhere like Tokyo or Las Vegas, some of those type of places where there's going to be pink lights and just neon type flash, some of that pizzazz and just looking by the album cover, you can kind of tell the bright lights pizzazz and just seeing like some neon lights and some of those type favorites. Just more places where there's just going to be a lot of city pizzazz about it. So it's a good type concept, but it works within the pitch. So yeah, basically there were 6 singles off this project. I recommend all 6. I recommend every song on this album. I am going to review the iTunes edition, which has 12 songs on there. So this album gets a 10 out of 10. It's simple enough to say. I think you can tell by the packaging that this is just a very emphasized type one. Now the only thing about it would be just in terms of the fare behind it is I feel like this is a classic here, but it's just kind of the concept that it is a little bit more sprawling within the sense. It's just kind of the concept that some of these songs are not within the typical kind of format. I mean, some of these are just a little bit more not. I mean, I feel like The Weeknd did carve out better hits later on. It didn't take him very long. Like I said, it only took him to 2015 to start figuring out how to get these radio type appeals. But these do have some ones on here, but it's just a little bit more kind of more sketchy within a sense, and not sketchy in terms of quality, but just the pitch behind it. So Kissland is an example of this product here. This is a good type song, lead single out this project. This is kind of like a moody and sifting kind of city weaving to kind of get here. Just some the lead single Kissland is like a moody and sifting kind of city weaving fatigue kind of get here within those pitches. Just kind of amongst like a typical night glamour, I'd have to say, and just like some zany flip mode kind of get within that sense. So it's just a good product to have some of these particular fares kind of having this real nice pizzazz about this real gothic type one. This really haunts within the sense. A lot of this is just real shrill. Just in the aspect, this feels like something out of a Stephen King book or some of those type of pitches. Just something where it just feels like the walls are alive and those sorts of pitches. The hills have eyes, some of those type fashions, just in a city type sense. Good type of appeal for that. Just really nails the appeal behind it. Just has the aspect of just a haunting trip to just allow you to have you and your girls some pitches like that. Just kind of the gothicness of just appreciating like some city pizzazz. Nails the vibe for it. Belong to the World's the second single. Now, once again, these songs did not chart that heavily. The most popular song off this album is Live For with Drake, as far as those pitches kind of happened. That one did not chart that heavily. I want to say it's like top 80 single, something like that. I don't remember its full bound, but there really weren't any, like I was saying, any number ones, number threes, number 15s, number 30s, as far as those pitches kind of happened. So it's just kind of more of like a rough draft kind of album, but these songs are pretty excellent just from the pitch. So Belong to the World is like a rainy and kind of brooding gothic R&B that nails like the big city life step out with. It's like Belong to the World is like a rainy and brooding kind of gothic R&B that nails like the big city life step out with some haze about it, just within the tone behind it. So it's just a good type tone. It's real nice atmosphere. Some ones on here that do have some of that rainy type fashion. Tears in the Rain, Belong to the World, Love in the Sky. Some of these type ones that just really feel like a rainy kind of Tokyo day, and just the glitz of just kind of being in a hurried type mode within some of those type places. So definitely if you're having like wanderlust, like this album says, it's some good type fashion. I have some travel. It's not like you shouldn't have wanderlust. It's just a real good taste of glitz. It's kind of the glamour behind it. So definitely, even places like New York, places like Detroit, some of those type fairs, just in the aspect, just being able to say some of these, it really works within the enamorment of it. Real nice glamorous aspect to kind of get here. Love in the Sky is the third single, and this is another glitzy type one. This has pretty good chorus on here. Some of these type of pitches, just the initial aspects behind it. But the thing about with The Weeknd with this particular one is a lot of these choruses, Kiss Land, Belong to the World, Love in the Sky, these are more kind of ethereal type ones within the pitch. He kind of started to level out a little bit with later products, but he does have pretty lofty positions. So it's just kind of the concept that that's kind of the thing. Is for if you're looking for more down to earth type R&B, it's just kind of the concept that you do kind of start to float a little bit when you listen to The Weeknd. You probably need something like I would recommend listening to some of this. It'll just get you up in the air to the point where you probably want to, if you're trying to stay 10 toes down and be like, well, I have work in the next 20 minutes. It's just kind of within the tone of having something a little bit more down to earth. Not to list someone and then have them not feel as special, but this within tone, just having something that keeps you 10 toes down. It's just in the pitch that a lot of these are pretty lofty. But Love in the Sky is like a lofty and dark city weaving malaise kind of get here. It just reminds me of Tokyo and Vegas, like I was saying, just some good pitches for that. And it's like a good goth sparkle kind of for some of that type fare. So some of these just feel pretty fashionable, just in the sense behind it. Just a real nice aspect of just being able to get turned up and just have that enamorment of just stepping out within those pitches. Real nice glamour behind it. But a lot of these are just more amidst like the city. Some of these are more Carver Travers type ones, but in terms of like night venue type ones, I can't think of too many apart from maybe like Odd Look and Live For, some of those type pitches. For the most part, it's just more kind of amidst like the city, where some of these are just kind of more amidst like the city. I would definitely say there is some ambience on this particular project just within the tone of just having like that positioning of just kind of being in a more just haunting type sense. But it's this kind of the fashion. If you're looking for dance club type songs, this is not really as much of like an urban kind of rhythmic kind of album as full blown, but it does, like I was saying, I feel like Odd Luck, Live For, probably like a little bit of well, maybe loving the sky in like a more looming type fashion, balcony type fashion, but it's just within the pitch that this not, it's just a lot more emphatic. I'd say it's a good type tone for that. But Loving Sky is a nice one. Live For is a nice one as well. It's a good type pitch. This has Drake on here. He's the only real guest on this particular product. It's like a gloomy and moody kind of R&B malaise kind of get here. Just some grand neo soul. I would definitely feel like in terms of a single fits the Weeknd and Drake very well. I'd say so. This is kind of the fashion behind it. This pretty much has one of the most immediate type beats. This is one of the ones I started with when I this is one of the ones I started with when I fucked with this album back in 2013. Good type pitch. This is the closest thing to like vanilla R&B, the sort of stuff that Drake and some of those type folks were carving out back in 2013. The thing about it was Drake was kind of carving out R&B too around this time in like 2011 and 2013. It's just kind of the pitch that the Weeknd up that particular sound as well. He went in a separate direction from Drake. Was just kind of the concept that they did. This is probably one of their most recent collaborations, but it nails it for the pitch behind it. This is the most vanilla song on here. It has pretty much one of the most immediate beats in terms of like typical kind of early 2010s R&B. It's just kind of within the pitch behind it, but most of this particular product is a lot different from this particular song, but still a nice one to kind of have as like a decent kind of starting point or solid enough vanilla kind of starting point, I'd have to say. Real gothic type one, this gloomy type song that hits pretty heavily. Pretty is the fifth single. It's another nice one here. It's like a stock kind of Tokyo and shrouded kind of star glamour to kind of get within those pitches. Just a taste of some night pizzazz in like a haunting fashion. It's a pretty lit type song. I have within that particular fair. A lot of these melodies are pretty on point within the pitch behind it. Just some of these type of ones. Yeah, this real gothic type fashion for some of these particular songs on here. Pretty is just a real nice one to kind of have for some of that looming, just strengthy type feeling. So it's a pretty, like I said, real strengthy, powerful type album here to kind of get within that pitch. Just real nice, lofty type fares within some of that. Real nice, lofty kind of position type fares as far as those pitch can have a good, nice one. This real has the aspect of this real ground as far as that particular fare goes along with that. And then Wanderlust is a nice one as well. Now, this is one that was pretty much seemingly only a single released in the UK, but still a nice type of appeal to kind of get this one here. Definitely excellent appeal. This like some excellent kind of dark shrouded kind of city hop at it. Wanderlust was only released as a single in the UK, but it's an excellent type pitch. Probably should have been released in the United States as well, but some excellent type fare to kind of get you the Weeknd more international within those pitches back in those times. So it's like an excellent kind of dark shrouded city hop, I'd have to say here. Just a visceral pace about this particular song. Very Michael Jackson like, and a quick flash kind of get within those tones behind us. So it's just within the fare. This one has a little bit of like rhythmic kind of step to it, but it's just kind of more in a fashion, just some pep in your step and like the night type pizzazz. Most of this album is pretty much night oriented within the fashion. You'll be surprised. It doesn't have too much taste of like sunny days type fare, so it's very much the concept of the, like when I was talking about earlier with this product having some zany kind of flip mode. This is basically like your loud pack for just life and the lifestyles. Pretty much what you would put in your tape deck or your vehicle after about probably 5:30, 6:30 p.m. as the sun is completely set as far as those fares can happen. Once you get to that fashion, you just kind of snap to that transformation. It just kind of happens. It just is almost, it's pretty like the way that this glamour kind of hits is just pretty instantaneous within the appeal behind this. Really, I mean, even if you're only going to like get like a belt or get like some shoes or something like that, it just has the taste of fashion that just makes things a lot more starry, just more glamorous. But it's just within the pitch. It's something to kind of have within the aspect of where to listen to it, just as far as paying attention. Because if you are just doing mundane type tasks and you're just going maybe to buy like some shoes and then going back home, it just makes it kind of has you have like that FOMO kind of atmosphere, just kind of the context of just being bored, some of that type fare. So it's definitely, this kind of has something to just having maybe like multiple errands or just some socialized kind of hop to just in the pitch, because it definitely has that appetite for it and it's good type tone. But yeah, those are the singles, just kind of the pitch behind it. So yeah, like I was saying, I recommend every song on this particular album in some fashion. Now, the only song I was kind of on the fence about in a certain aspect was just kind of Adaptation, which I do like this one, but it's just kind of within the pitch that this is the only one that I didn't listen to as full blown back in the day as far as listening to this particular album more. Was just within the pitch. I do enjoy this song within a relative sense, but it's just kind of concept. I probably have to get used to this one a little bit more considering the fact of how long it's been since I haven't listened to it. But I look within the tone, it is a nice one. So basically about Adaptation, it's like a forlorn and kind of chugging night wind stretch to kind of get here. This is basically like a commerce type one, some good type tones for that. It goes pretty well with Professional, I'd have to say, and it's like some trendy makeshift kind of get here. This is like the closest thing to like makeshift on this particular album, I'd say in particular. Maybe Professionals kind of like that as well. Maybe a little bit of like Love in the Sky in like a more glitzy type fashion, but just some of this in particular, this is like the closest thing to more workaday, just blue collar type fare or definite white collar type fare within the aspect. Just kind of goes along with it. So definitely the concept when you think of makeshift, just in a more vanilla type sense, this is something that kind of has the glitz and glamour, a little bit more enriched blue blood type, a little bit more blue blood type appeal as far as that particular fare goes along with it, but just within the fashion of still being workaday. So it's just kind of within the concept. I just look after it. I do like the particular kind of like fatigue about this song, was just kind of concept, just questioning the aspect of how frequent it would kind of be. So it's a good song though. And then on the iTunes edition, which is not on Spotify, is the song Odd Look, and I definitely recommend picking up the iTunes edition because this song is pretty damn good just within the pitch. Now there's another song on here that's on the iTunes edition that I'm not going to review because it's basically like, I don't know if it's the same song, but Wanderlust, the Pharrell remix, is one that's on here. But I would just probably assume by the natural trajectory of this product that it is a nice one. I'd have to figure out where that particular song kind of was, but I do at least remember Odd Looks. So I'll briefly talk about this one. It's like a snappy kind of dark swirled EDM commotion kind of get here. It's a nice foot tap and jive about this particular song. It's just a contemporary kind of highlight. So this is the biggest song in terms of like a dance step or something where the Weeknd's a little bit more kind of in your face and just kind of the concept of just something that's a little bit more not necessarily down to earth, but just the pitch of just kind of having like, this is a song that has a little bit more kind of ground level kind of dance stepping just within a more kind of contemporary kind of commotion about it. Most of these are kind of more looming and lofty and gothic within the senses in a more ghostly type sense, but this particular song Odd Look is kind of dark and ghostly as well, but just within the pitch of a little bit more kind of something that Jeffree Star would kind of do, or folks like that, just in the aspect of something that's kind of gothic, hot topic and alternative pitches, but just a little bit more just within something you could hear in a dance club, a little bit something more ground level. Good type song, definitely recommend it. So yeah, just talk about the other three songs on this particular album. Basically, Tears in the Rain is real nice one. This has some great melodies on here and great like bridges and pitches like that. It's like a brooding and kind of malaise rainy day night. Tears in the Rain is like a brooding and malaise kind of rainy night fair to kind of get within those pitches. Just some after hours rain in like Vegas, I would feel like for the most. This particular song would be some after hours rain in like a Vegas like spot, just as the aspects kind of hit with that. Some good type tones. It's basically a big city glamour just within the pitch of like a rainy type night, just within some of those type fairs. Just kind of goes with the motions of just kind of that fatigue is in the aspect of like some social kind of step out. So just further taste of nightlife. This whole album is basically like that, just packs a punch. The Town is a real nice one. This is probably one of the most ghostly songs on here. This really has a hitting type vibe about it. This is like a ghostly and banshee like wafting to kind of get within those tones. There's some crisp melodies on this particular song and like a social town hop. This particular song has some crisp melodies and like a social town hop kind of sleet, I'd have to say, as far as this first going to happen. This is just a stock hit to kind of get here. So this one is really, like the ghastliness of this particular one. I like the concept of the Weeknd having some of that haunting type material. It's because it didn't seem like he did that as much on Beauty Behind the Madness and Starboy. Starboy was more like Daft Punk. Beauty Behind the Madness was kind of haunting, but also just kind of a vanilla 2010s R&B album. My Dear Melancholy is pretty brooding. That was just a brooding type project, some Dracula type R&B. And like some of the later ones, like After Hours, some of those type pitches just had some different type tones. But I just look after it like at least being able to say The Town is probably the most ghostly song on here for the most part. I mean, a lot of this is pretty shrill and like a kind of gothic, kind of Tokyo type sense, but this is just a nice. This is The Town is just one that particularly has a haunting type feel the most. So it's a good type tone. And then Professional is a pretty aspect one. This is a real quality one here. This is a lengthy song. There are some lengthy ones on here. Some songs that are over 5.5 or 6 minutes within those pitches. Like there's another one, like I think it's Kissland. The title track is over a 7-minute song, so it's just within the pitch. I would say for the most part, I know I typically kind of complain about those types of songs, but The Weeknd just nails it better, just the way that he puts these together, just within the composition of them. So it just really is haunting. There's some beat switch ups, or there's like some beat kind of fatigue, and some of these type. There's some beat kind of fatigue in some of these songs that just really hits heavily. So it's a good type tone for that. But Professionals, like a gothic kind of in a big city sense type tune. Looming and it's like a looming and powerful kind of commerce and demon time. I would definitely feel like here. It's just an overall ghostly type one. So it's just some good type pitches. I really like the backdrop that happens on this particular song about 3.5 minutes in. This really gets like this kind of spectral type tone about it. Pretty much within the fair, just some good type tones within it. You'll notice when the beat switch up kind of happens on there, it's just some good ghastliness, kind of get this real nice aspect of type tone for that. I do like some of those type ones. It's the hauntiness that kind of went like whoever produced this particular album really had some good kind of amalgamations of being able to do it. Because there's just not too many projects I can think of that just had this overall haunting swirl of what particularly happened. Definitely gives you a taste of Tokyo and Vegas and New York, some of those type fashions, some ghastly type places, and more haunting type sense. It also kind of reminded me of Kanye West's Yay album, or Kanye West and Kid. A good album that this particular album reminds me of is Kanye West and Kid Cudi's Kids See Ghosts album. It has that same sort of haunting type fashion about it within those fairs. That's definitely one I would check out if you like this particular album. It's within the pitch, but it's definitely haunting. So that's the concept about this album. So I give this album a 10 out of 10. The social score I'll go ahead and give like a 9.752 out of 10 because I feel like within the pitch, very classic album within the impact, trailblazer place and did a lot for R&B, some of those type pitches. This was definitely a shapeshifter that did a lot, just did the damage, and was something that probably I think there was some inspiration that was taken from this particular product. Just made more noise than it got credit for. I definitely had to say, even though Beauty Behind the Madness probably gets more credit nowadays, but this is one that put the Weeknd on the map and at least got his foot in the door to be able to have the point as far as saying that this was the kind of a showcase. Even if this was a sketchier type product and didn't have the full bound kind of commercial hits, it still did that. That's why I get to 9.75s because Beauty Behind the Madness is the better one to go for vanilla wise in terms of radio appeal. But this one definitely had the hits, just a little bit more definitely ghastly, just kind of sketchy within the pitch and just kind of having some of those initial backdrops of doing it. So it's a good type tone. In terms of the future, like the Weeknd is getting ready to put out a 2025 album. So it's a good type pitch for that. Just being able to say he might retire the Weeknd moniker as far as those pitches can happen. Not sure what's going to happen after that. I think he's going to continue to do music, which is a great thing as far as those pitches can happen. But it's just kind of within the tone as far as saying the Weeknd. There's a series of these particular albums. I'm going to start getting into some more of these, but I do know this album quite a bit. So it's kind of within the pitch. I need to get more Weeknd schedules as far as those fairs can happen, but this is definitely an easy classic here. And just because I know these albums so well, it's kind of the concept is why they've been put off a little bit, but it's just within the pitch. Obviously these are excellent type ones. It's probably like the third or fourth 10 that I've given the Weeknd at this particular stage. So it's just another excellent type one, but this is a classic.